The cargo bay doors hissed open and Thomas Reed wiped grease from his hands. He'd been expecting spare parts, not the creature being unloaded from the transport ship. "Sign here, human," the insectoid cargo master chittered. "Galactic Exotic Pet Redistribution Program. You're the lucky winner." Thomas squinted at the data pad. He hadn't entered any lottery. He barely made enough credits repairing equipment on Outpost Karis 9 to feed himself. But there it was. His name assigned to one juvenile Drakesh specimen, designation Krathul. The creature was nothing like the majestic dragons from old Earth legends. Krathul was dog-sized, covered in dull gray scales. His left wing hung crooked, clearly healed wrong. Scars crisscrossed his snout. One eye was milky white, and several teeth were missing. "Defective merchandise," the cargo master explained. "Drakesh usually sell for millions. This one was scheduled for termination. Your species bid for the rejects." Krathul limped out, dragging his malformed wing. He looked up at Thomas with his one good eye, deep amber burning with intelligence and hatred. Smoke curled from his nostrils. "Yeah, I'm not thrilled either, buddy," Thomas muttered. The cargo master departed, leaving Thomas alone with his new pet. Krathul immediately retreated to the darkest corner of the grimy repair bay and refused to acknowledge Thomas's existence. The first week was disaster. Krathul wouldn't eat the nutrition pellets Thomas bought with his last credits. He just lay in his corner, occasionally coughing flame that scorched the walls. On the 8th day, exhausted from a double shift, Thomas sat with his meager dinner, synth protein stew that tasted like cardboard. Krathul watched from the shadows. "Look," Thomas said, "I know you didn't ask for this. I didn't either. But we're both stuck here and I'm too stubborn to let you starve." He held out a spoonful. "It's terrible, but it's what I've got." Krathul didn't move. Thomas shrugged and kept eating. When he finished, he left a portion near Krathul's corner. By morning it was gone. Slowly, a routine formed. Thomas shared his food, which meant he was always hungry, but Krathul started looking healthier. The dragon began watching Thomas work with curious intensity. When Thomas fabricated a wing brace from scrap metal, Krathul didn't resist, though his growls suggested he wanted to. Months passed. Krathul grew more compact and agile. His scales began to shimmer iridescent. He couldn't fly, but he could glide using the brace Thomas continuously improved. The breakthrough came during a station emergency. A plasma fire broke out near the reactor. Thomas ran toward the inferno to manually seal containment doors before the station exploded. Halfway there, superheated gas blocked his path. Thomas threw up his arms, knowing his suit wouldn't save him. Krathul appeared from nowhere, positioning himself between Thomas and the flames. The dragon inhaled the fire, actually breathed it in like drinking water. The corridor cleared. Together they sealed the breach with seconds to spare. Years passed like that. A poor human mechanic and his ugly dragon, fixing things, surviving together. Then the Vrexian war fleet arrived. The Vrexians were a conquest species, and Outpost Karis 9 was in their way. Their warships surrounded the station, demanding surrender within 1 hour. Thomas stood at the observation window watching doom descend. The station had no weapons, no military, just workers and families. "Well," he said to Krathul, "we had a good run, didn't we?" Krathul pressed his scarred snout against Thomas's hand for the first time ever. And Thomas understood. Through their bond, Krathul showed him memories. The dragon hadn't been born defective. He'd been a guardian who sacrificed his body protecting his siblings from a predator. He'd been cast out because he could no longer serve as a perfect warrior. His people valued perfection over heart, but Thomas had never needed perfection. And in return, Krathul had found something his species never gave him: a home. The dragon walked to the airlock. "Wait, what are you doing?" Krathul looked back. Thomas heard it clearly in his mind: "Protecting my home." Before Thomas could stop him, Krathul triggered the airlock and launched into space. Thomas ran to the window, heart stopping. Krathul floated in the void, and he began to change. His body expanded, growing impossibly large. The dull gray scales transformed into polished obsidian studded with stars. His broken wing healed, membrane stretching between reconstructed bones. He became what he was always meant to be: a true Drakesh, a star dragon, magnificent and terrible. The Vrexian fleet opened fire. Plasma bolts that could vaporize asteroids dissipated against Krathul's scales like rain. He inhaled, chest expanding to the size of a small moon, and breathed out pure cosmic energy. The beam tore through 3 warships instantly. Their shields were nothing. The remaining fleet tried to retreat. Krathul pursued them through space like he'd been born in the void, crushing their hulls until the last one fled to hyperspace in terror. Then Krathul returned to the station, shrinking back to his smaller form. He slipped through the airlock and sat in his usual corner like nothing had happened. Tomas stared. "You could have done that the whole time?" Krathul made a huffing sound like a laugh. Images flickered in Thomas's mind. The dragon had needed time to heal, yes. But more than that, he'd needed a reason. His own people had thrown him away, considered him worthless. But Thomas had seen worth where others saw defect. Had shared his food when he had little. Had never asked the dragon to be anything but what he was. That was worth protecting. That was worth everything. News spread through consortium space. Scientists and military officials came to Outpost Karis 9, demanding to study Krathul, to understand how a defective specimen had manifested such power. Thomas stood in front of his dragon and told them all the same thing. He's not going anywhere. He's home. And Krathul rumbled his agreement. They learned something that day, all those advanced species with their perfect genetics. They learned that humans had a strange talent for seeing potential where others saw only flaws, for building bonds where others saw transactions, for turning castaways into family and weakness into strength. Because that's what humans did. They took the broken things of the universe and made them whole again. And sometimes, just sometimes, those broken things saved the universe right back.